Hey everyone, I'm John. I collect cards, and hope you're having a great Memorial Day weekend. It's Monday. It's actually Memorial Day afternoon here. Michigan's been a really nice weekend here. It got hot yesterday. It's pretty warm again today. We're in the mid to upper 80s right now. I think it's about 86. Um, so I'm taking a few minutes here and wanted to kind of show a bunch of cards actually, but I'll do it as quickly as I can. But hopefully in a way that you'll still get to kind of see what I have that kind of offers a taste of some vintage that I have from the 50s and 60s that in recent days I've really kind of grown just sort of gotten that much more fonder of vintage in a variety of ways. Sometimes some of it's from some of the podcasts or other videos I've listened to or watched. And also, I'm getting I'm going to send out my first SGC grading order this week. So finally, I've been kind of like leading up to it, but now I'm actually going to do it. I'm only going to send 5 out to start, but one of them is actually a pretty big one. So we'll see what happens with it. But without further ado, I'm going to turn the camera around and sort of, wax poetic about vintage for a little while. So see you in a bit. All right. So I've got the camera turned around here, and I'm going to show first, here are the 4 cards for baseball cards of a 5-card SGC order I'm going to get out this week. I've got 3 of these you might have seen in a previous video I've done. I've got a 1967 Topps Hank Aaron here. I'm hoping for a 3 out of that one. Got a 1963 Topps Stan Musial here. It's his last playing era card. I'm hoping for at least a 5 on that one. I'll pull that out actually really quick, and there goes Hank. But the Musial's it's pretty nice. This is the first, I believe this is the first vintage card I've ever purchased. I got it at a show in like 1990 or 91, something like that. I wish it would get cleared up a little bit, but it's a pretty nice example, I like to think. Back's a little off center. In fact, that's more than a little off center. But I really do like that one. Here's the Aaron really quick. Little off center left. This bottom left corner in particular is kind of soft. But again, another decent example. I think for these cards, these 2 cards, I think I paid no more than 30 or 35 for them. 25 maybe. And that's a long time ago now. And back then it was probably too much. Me being 18 or whatever, 17-year-old kid buying them. But they're worth a little more than that now, and I think the grade will help that in that regard. But I just kind of want to have them slapped for a sentimental sake. And then I got this around that time. This one's the best of the 3, I think, in terms of just condition. I'm hoping for at least a 6 on this one. Also got this at a show a long time ago. This is a nice one. I wouldn't be shocked. I'd be shocked, not shocked in a good way if it got even a 7, but I don't know. Again, I'm no grader, so there's a good chance I'm missing something. If it comes back a 5, so be it. But, I'm going to give it a shot. And then this other card I got here is a 1954 Topps Willie Mays. Going to send this one out. I'm hoping for a 3 on this one. If it gets anything better than that, I'll be really happy. SGC does half grades more often than PSA does, so I am hoping for something in the 3 neighborhood. But we'll see. If it comes back at 2.5, again, so be it. It's a 1954 Willie Mays, though, an iconic card, so it'll be great to get this one slabbed. I got this from a Greg Morris auction, so it's raw, but I'm pretty confident that it's good. And I've collected the 54 set. I only need Ernie Banks and Hank Aaron at this point. And Banks I am hoping to get sometime this year. Aaron will be a someday purchase. I've gotten probably at least half of them. Maybe I wouldn't be surprised if I've gotten 2/3 to 3/4 of those cards from that set through Greg Morris auctions, which have been very, a lot of people talk about how good overall they are. And in terms of experience, positive experience overall from end to end, and I have to agree with that. So, been a really good resource there. It's just, I don't know, I started buying raw, and then if for some reason I wanted to just continue with it, for 50 for that set and not mix it up with slabs. I don't know why I was thinking that back 2 years ago when I really started it, but that's where I've gotten to. Even all the biggies in that set, I have them raw, and I hope I don't regret with some of those buys. I wouldn't be surprised if I end up regretting some of them when I do get some of them graded, but that's it's still been an enjoyable experience building that set. But without further ado, and I'll probably, when I do send some out over time, I'll get them on camera ahead of time too, and then when they come back, I'll try to do some videos on them. I'm going to try to do one a month and see how that goes, but I'm going to start out with 5 here. Oh, the 5th one I never did show you real quick. It's actually not a baseball card, but I am slabbing this one with an intention to sell it probably later this year. This is a 1986-87 Patrick Waugh rookie that I pulled right out of a pack in 1986. It was during that summer. I had a newspaper route, I remember, when I was like 13, and it was kind of like a newsstand candy shop right nearby from where my route was. And for most of that summer, I remember going in and buying hockey cards because it was the first time I ever did that. And I thought it was kind of a neat thing to do. And it was a small set, as it turned out, and I ended up having a whole set. And so this is one of the iconic cards from the 1980s for hockey. So I'm going to get this one graded with an intention to sell it. So I'm a New York Rangers fan, and they lost in the Eastern Conference Finals to Montreal and rookie Patrick Waugh in 1986, I believe it was. Yeah. So I will be happy to sell this card because to me it's like it wants to leave this house. Knowing that I don't have a soft spot for Patrick Waugh necessarily from a fan perspective, even though he's one of the all-time greats. So anyway, I'm going to go. Although that's sort of a vintage card for hockey almost these days, but I want to show just some cards that I've. There was a couple of podcasts and videos I watched recently. A couple from Mike Moynihan, Baseball Collector. I think it was on his Golden Age Cardboard podcast. And he had one guest on last week, I think it was. They talked about getting into vintage. How does one get into vintage? I started getting into vintage at the end of my, childhood baseball card experience when I just started buying some first vintage cards. And it was right around the time I was going to college. And then once I sort of got into college, I not quickly fell away, but it was pretty quick actually, I guess. I don't remember buying anything past 1991. And I really did like the 91 set actually in terms of the design, but I don't remember buying anything really after that. And so these 3 cards you see here were among the last ones I bought at in terms of, they were among the first vintage cards I bought. Here are 2 other ones I was going to show near the end actually, because I'm going chronologically for the other cards I'm going to show, but I'll just show them now. This is a 64 Warren Spahn. This is also one of the first cards I bought, vintage. Still in the screw down holder, and I'm not going to send it in a grade, so for now it's just going to stay in there. And then a 1965 Topps Harmon Killebrew from Twins. I just love this card in particular. Again, it doesn't have tons of value. The corners are, it has value, of course, but for some reason Killebrew should be a little more valuable in my opinion. But he's relatively affordable among vintage Hall of Fame greats. But this is just a beautiful card, and I do throw out that B word on occasion for a baseball card. This is a very artful card. The pose for Harmon there, the color, the design, the classic 65 pennant design, it just works on every level. I love how the cap and the color here just kind of work together. He's not, and I like a lot of these vintage portraits where you're going to see from some of these other cards, and I'm going to show here shortly, where they're not looking at you. Like on Heritage these days, so many of those like spring training shots, they're looking right at the camera, and they're so like dime a dozen. I guess back in the day these were dime a dozen too, but I don't know, they kind of have a different appeal now, I think. Like that Aaron card there, he's not looking at you. So it's, I don't know, there's something about this card in particular. I just think it's just a great card. And so I was really happy to pick that one up a long time ago to have in my collection. And when I did sort of re-embrace the hobby again a couple years ago, and I got them back because my brother had all our cards when we were it was a shared endeavor for a long time with our dad. And I did want to bring back home. He lives about 600 miles away in New York. I'm in Michigan. Um, some of those first cards I had bought vintage with me once I was sort of going back in to the hobby in a big way. I do mention my dad. That's another reason why I'm doing this particular video is it'll be 10 years since he passed away in July. He died at 67. And a few days ago, this seems random, but the actor Ray Liotta passed away. He was 67 as well. And, he was in Goodfellas and Field of Dreams. Those are probably his two biggest movies. Heat was, I think he was in Heat. Or maybe that was just Pacino and De Niro. I don't think Liotta was in that one. But anyway, my dad was a big, he liked those kinds of movies. And so he liked Ray Liotta also. And so it made me think about him a little bit in that kind of other way. And, me and vintage and just baseball cards in general, and it is mostly baseball for me, almost 95% baseball. It's about connections. That's what really, that I've really embraced the hobby again. It's reinforced. It's another way to find those connections, because they can easily kind of fade into the background of your life with when, everyday life, kind of runs your day. Work, family, etc. So, I should say family/work, but let's switch that order. And so being able to, and I used to be in fantasy baseball years ago, and I haven't done fantasy baseball in probably about 10 years, or any fantasy sport for that matter, and I don't miss it one bit. Filling that kind of like me time thing with getting back into this has been much more rewarding and fulfilling. I just wouldn't have time to do both to the degree that I would like. And that's different for everybody. But for me, really diving back into the sports card thing it's been fulfilling in a lot of ways. Which just seemed, I don't know, like for some folks on the outside, like even my wife to a degree, it's like she still doesn't quite get it, but maybe slowly but surely she kind of does. But, her patience and everything for that is, second to none. And really, there's not a whole lot to be patient about, so to speak. But it's all good. So anyway, I'm kind of blabbing there. But without further ado, I'm going to run around, go share a few, well, actually more than a few cards here. These three, I'm going to go mostly chronological after these first three. Here's a 1962 Topps Gaylord Perry rookie. Probably a 2, maybe a 3 at best. There's a 1963 Tony Oliva rookie. It's got a indentation kind of crease there right by Ed Kranepool, bottom left. And here's a 1965 Steve Carlton rookie. I will send this in for grading. The other two I probably won't. But Perry I might if I'm feeling up to it one day. But this one will definitely go at some point. I would hope for a 3 on this one. It could be a 2 or a 2.5 because the corners are pretty fuzzy. There is no obvious crease that I see on here though, so, and the centering's not too bad. So that makes me hold out a little bit of hope for a 3 on this. But the reason I show these 3 here real quick is because one of the first kind of like vintage lots I got was actually a Facebook Marketplace thing. So and he was local, so I met up with him during the pandemic. Actually, I'll put these aside here. So we were all careful with masks, and he was very nice to let me in his home. He wanted to sell me a 1968 Tom Seaver second year, and it had a crease in it, and I didn't know it at first, and he didn't mention it in the posting, and he apparently wasn't aware of it, or at least he was a very nice guy. But so he was. He let me pick something else with the lot. And so I actually asked about the Carlton. And he said, yeah, that'd be cool. No problem. And so I was able to get these 3 cards that I just showed you before, and a few others that aren't rookies, but also from like the 60s or 70s for $75. I was pretty happy about that. And that kind of was one of my first kind of like vintage lot buys when I first got back in. So I wanted to show those first. But now what I'm going to do is kind of go through in chronological order a bunch of cards. I'm going to kind of treat them like packs almost by year, and kind of see where that brings us. So I'm going to start with, and again, these are just cards. How I'm framing this, these are cards I just like to have in my collection that I don't regret buying. And in some ways, I really don't regret it, because some of these, even just in the last year or so, have gone up in value. Just, do some eBay comps, or just sort of trend lines kind of thing, where, vintage is that, it's not going to spike, but then the risk of crashing is a lot less as well. So it's not necessarily like investing in bonds, but maybe it's more like investing in a utility stock. That's kind of almost how I see vintage in some ways. I think they're still stocks in terms of an analogy, but maybe kind of more like a utility stock. And, maybe there's even that dividend, so to speak, kind of a equivalent. And maybe that dividend is just sort of the fun factor. And, you don't have to worry about, sometimes with current stars, you got to worry about life. Life gets in the way. Sometimes that could impact their value, whether it's getting hurt or some off the field thing. And for the most part, that's usually not a concern for retired grades. So here we go. Starting in 1952, Gil Hodges. I have a lot of Gil Hodges you'll see here. And I was surprised as I pulled these out. I was surprised. I was like, even 12 months ago, 16 months ago, I bought some of these cards, and I'm like, I forgot I had that. So this one I just got earlier this year, shortly after we got in the haul. Actually, I got it from my LCS in Kalamazoo. It is the black back, so it's worth a little bit more there. I'm going to hope for a 3 on this when I send it in. I definitely will send this one in. Got an okay deal on it. He actually didn't realize he had it where he had it in his stack of stuff. He had it with some. This is a card that probably should be out on a shelf in a display case, and he had this kind of in a box with other 52 top-loaded cards, but they were all kind of in a separate box. And so I think he was surprised that he had that in there, and he listed it for $150. He gave it to me for $120, and I got it. And it was probably still kind of a fair price, I think, from a retail standpoint, not like an eBay auction. Probably would have won a little less. But I am going to send that in to get graded at some point, and I think it'll help in terms of maintaining that value. And he's a Hall of Famer now, so here's a 52 Mickey Vernon. I just like that picture. I like the green background of it, and he's kind of an underrated he's not an all-timer, but he was a very darn good player, and I don't know if he's in the Hall of Fame. He might be in the Hall of Fame, actually. Just had a hell of a career with the Senators. Bill Rigney, 52 Giants. Just like that picture. He looks like a professor almost there. But, he had a long history in baseball, manager for a long time after being a player. So I like that one a lot, too. So this is the only 352s that I have from Topps. But I'm going to go a little faster now on these. This is the only 1953 Bowman color I have. It's Bob Friend. I will probably pick up a few more of these along the way in the months and years to come, but I won't build a set. I'm not actually looking, this 54 set building experience has been a blast. I really enjoy it. I might do a video where I show some that I have. But I think in terms of building sets, I started sort of doing that for some of these sets I'm going to show here shortly. But I'm kind of pulling back on that. It's just that idea that it's just such a large adventure to do that, and you really have to 54 for me. I love the design. My dad and grandfather, my father's father, were Giants fans, New York Giants fans, growing up in Manhattan, Upper East Side is where they were, and they also rooted for the Giants for several years after they even moved to San Francisco, and so I kind of have always have a little bit of a soft spot for the Giants because of that family history there. And so that 54 piece, that's the reason. And there's no mantle in the set, which makes it seems to be a little more attainable, even if it does have Hank Aaron's rookie in there and Ernie Banks' rookie and 2 Ted Williams cards and Al Kaline's rookie. But I have the Kaline. I've got both the Teddy baseballs or Teddy ball games. So yeah, I've got the Jackie, and his cards have shot way up in the last year or two. But anyway, this is a beautiful card. I love the pose. I love how he holds the baseball there. The photography is just stunning in these cards. And I actually like how they don't have any text on the front. To me, that's just such a standout. I love that. So it's the only one of those I have, but I'll be getting more in the years to come. A couple of 53 tops that I have. Johnny Antonelli. I think I picked this up from an eBay, I think on a lot actually, but I only got it because it was a Boston Braves card. I think it's the only Boston Braves card I have, and it's actually in halfway decent condition. Bob Serve. I think this might be his rookie card, which is why I got it. And then I have 354 Bowmans, just 3, because I don't like the design on these, but they're all Giants. Off center on that one. I paid $5 a piece for these. My LCS. Don Mueller's the main one of those 3. He was a regular in that lineup. So let me go through a few more a little quicker. Because like I mentioned before, I'm going to start showing these as almost like packs to themselves. Because I want to try to keep this to 30 minutes if at all possible, even maybe a little less, and I got 10 minutes left. So 3 1955s here. I'm not a big fan of 55 and 56. The design. 56, I don't have any 56s. This Dusty Rhodes is actually creased. And the reason why I got it is just because he had the major, he was like, if he wasn't the MVP of the 54 series, he was kind of the hero of it. He won game 1 with a pinch hit homer, I think. And I like that he's card number 1 in the set. But I like when the backs of cards call out those moments. I've mentioned this in a prior video. I just love that. To me, it's sort of documents the history. And I really like that aspect. This is a Joe Collins from 55. That's not creased, I think, just well worn. And this one's a really nice condition, actually, that I won't get graded because he's a backup catcher on the Brooklyn Dodgers from 55, but it's the year they won the World Series, which makes me like it a little bit more, actually, from a historical stance. Rube Walker. This is a pretty good condition card. It's a little off center, left, right, but the corners are nice on this. It's got a little left edge issue on the bottom there, right there. But overall, look, I mean, the photo itself is nice in terms of, or the image quality. It's a nice example. I probably got this for $5 in a $5 box on my LCS, and I picked it out only because it was like, this is a pretty nice condition card. So I like that one a lot, actually, for 55. I don't have any 56s, but I got lots of 57s. And I'm going to go through them here really quick. This was one of the sets that I thought about collecting as an entirety, and I pulled out some of the nice ones, or some of the kind of good players here. Here's Luis Aparicio, second-year card. Turns out I have 3 of the Cleveland Indians big starters that I ended up picking up. Here's Early Wynn. There's Mike Garcia. He's card number 300 in the set, which is a short print, actually, in that 260-something to 350-something is the short print range from 57. They got decent value above the regulars, the other commons in the set. This was the one I liked the most of the 3, Bob Lemon, because he'll always have a little spot for me because he helped save the 78 Yankees when he took on managing after Billy got fired for the first time when they were imploding. And then he kind of calmed everything down sort of in his really low-key way and let the stars do their thing, let the everyday players do their thing. Yep, so that's a nice one. I mean, it's a way off center, but again, I like having it. 57 Topps is kind of their answer to what 53 Bowman was in some ways, I think. Love the background in Yankee Stadium in this picture. Just a really cool card. Don Larson from 57. Of course, it has about info about the perfect game the year before. Pitched the greatest baseball game in history during the 1956 World Series. Good stuff there. Not a great quality card condition-wise, but one I definitely wanted to have. Whitey Ford. Yeah, I don't regret having a 1957 Whitey Ford. Not one bit. Even if it would grade no more than a 3. I love having it. It's even got a little bit of smudge or something going on there. But I still love it. This card, I got this for, I think, $25. It's got a crease actually down here near Hodges. It's not super visible though, and it's just such a classic card from that set. I mean, look at them. Look at those boys of summer right there. It's just awesome. The Duke, great pose there. This is also the last year for Brooklyn and New York Giants, Brooklyn Dodgers, New York Giants. Roy Campanella. Last playing day card for him. His accident was in January of 58. This is his last playing era card. Love the Ebbets in the background there at the upper deck and everything. It's just awesome. Love it. Polo Grounds in the background too on these 2. Just good stuff. Lou Burdett I had last here. He 1957 World Series, beat the Yankees 3 times in 1957's World Series, and was really the hero of that. And I also happen to have this card to show that right here. It's not as good condition as the 57, but it again explains was the sensation of the 57 series. And if you can see here, they spell his first name Lew. Here it's Lou. One of those uncorrected errors by Topps. I also like the pinks from 58. That's why I picked up this one. Like the pink. I'm not a big fan of the 58 design, but I like the pinks. Those are cool. Those are fun. Good stuff there. Charlie Maxwell lives about 10 miles from my house here in western Michigan. I picked up this one because I just couldn't help myself with this one. Milt Pappas had a pretty nice career pitching. Mostly, I think most of his success was with the Cubs. So this is a 1958 rookie with Baltimore. And he was like 17 years old, 18 years old when this picture was taken. He's a pimply-faced teenager. I hate to say that, but I mean, that's what this is. That's what drew me to this. It was like, wow, he has his own Topps card, and he's like in high school, seemingly still. Super cool, I thought. So I picked that one up. And then we'll go to 59 here. Start out with some continuity. He looks a lot older in this one, and that's just 1 year later. My thought is maybe the big league hitters were getting to him pretty quickly, but he did have a nice career, real nice career. Jimmy Pearsall, actually like the 59 set. And I kind of like, Jimmy Pearsall had a reputation kind of like a Billy Martin, but I kind of, if Pearsall was a Yankee, I would have loved him. The fact that he played him a lot of his career with the Red Sox would make me, really probably dislike him if I saw him play, back in the day, if I was living back then. But he's got he's just an interesting character himself. And here we go. I'm going to go through a bunch of other ones from 59 here. Try to be as quick as I can, but we're going to have a lot of stars. Stan Musial, Kenny Boyer, Gil Hodges, got some smudge there, but not a lot. These cards are overall in pretty good shape. When I say pretty good, I'm talking, anywhere from a 2 to a 4, maybe a 5 here and there. Definitely not that one off center, but still got his Willie Mays and Richie Ashburn on it. Now here's a player I would have liked back in the day if I was around Hank Bauer. I think I would have liked him. I like those key cogs in lineups who aren't maybe the biggest stars, but are big contributors. He was one of those guys. I like that card a lot. Carl Erskine. My first TTM auto was by Carl Erskine. 1957 Topps card I just sent to him about 2 years ago, and he came back pretty quick, and he's just an amazing person. Mid-90s. There's actually a documentary being made about him. I saw a YouTube trailer for it earlier this year. I think it's kind of like, small budget kind of documentary, but he's done so much for Special Olympics apparently in Indiana. So, he's just a hero off the diamond, perhaps even more than he was on it. So, and I like the pink background on that too. This is a cool card. Now it's got a Hall of Famer on it, and Minnie Minoso. So, but 3 big-time players there for Cleveland. That's a cool card. Enos Slaughter, another Hall of Famer, I think he had a little bit more than a cup of coffee with the Yankees, but clearly he was known as a Cardinal, but off center, but a nice shot nevertheless with the stadium in the background. Here's Ernie Banks in that one. And here's one card that I really like from this set, Roger Maris. It's a second-year card. Probably no better than the 3, but I like it a lot. Sparky, otherwise known as George Anderson. It's one of his few cards. I think he maybe had 2 or 3 Topps cards playing a day's cards overall, but I got that and the Maris in the same lot, actually, from 59. There's a Drysdale. Al Kaline. Forgot I had that one. Forgot I had this one. Robin Roberts. I could not. This has got to be late in his career, actually. Yeah. But another Hoffer there. Elston Howard. I love this card. Like this one a lot. Like the pose. Again, he's like looking out. He's not looking at the camera. I like the color. I like light blues a lot as well. In 54, the light blue backgrounds are my absolute favorite. And Whitey Ford in that set, that might be my favorite card in the whole set, actually, is the Whitey Ford from that set. Just the pose and the light blue. But this is a beautiful card. I love that one. Underrated Yankee great, in my opinion. Bill Mazeroski. So I got it. When I pulled these out, I was like, holy moly, I can't believe I have all these 59 greats. And I probably got about 60 to 70 more from 59, but I'm not going to buy any more from like this South. I'll maybe just buy here and there. Again, I'm looking for cards that I just enjoy having rather than building sets at this point. And I'm glad I've reached that conclusion, but at the same time, I love that I have them. I wasn't a big 1960 set fan, but I do have a few here that I'll show really quick. Jimmy Pearsall again, Aparicio, Drysdale. Got a few more sets I'm going to show, and then we'll call it. I'm probably going to get to 35 minutes on this. There's Billy. That's kind of a cool card. There's Bill Rigney again when he was managing them. And he managed the Angels after that. He was their first manager, I think. Charlie Maxwell again. Vern Law. I actually sold some high numbers in 1960 when I realized I wasn't going to like build, or I was, buying things like I saw some high numbers at my LCS from that year, and I thought like, okay, he's selling for $3 a card. I'm going to pick up a bunch, and I probably sold 10 of them recently. And I sold them for a decent amount as a group, actually. I probably sold it for about $50, which I was happy about. Vern Law. Jack Sanford. I like these all-stars on this one. Just the way the 60s in the background. The shadow effect. It's cool. Those are the only two I have of those. Felipe Alou. That's kind of a fun one. And there's Go Hodges again. I got this at an LCS in Grand Rapids, actually. About an hour from where I am. And when I picked it up, the guy who sold it to me says, oh, you should have this graded. So maybe I will. I assume it'll come back up maybe a 5. But I don't know, $30 a card, it might not be worth grading, but I'll think about it. So those are the 60s I have. 61, I'm a big 61 fan actually. And so I'll look through some of these. Out of all the cards I'm showing you here, this is the one in some ways that I really enjoy having the most. Is this 61 Sandy Koufax. This red or pink kind of, that's a printing error on this card. It's on all of them. So it's not a defect to this particular one. It's off center, but I think it's at least a 3, and I will send this in to get graded at some point, and I'm hoping it comes back a 4. I think there's a shot it could, actually. It's in pretty good condition overall, aside from the off center. Corners are not bad on this card. I really like it. So there's that. Wally Moon. I'm only pulling this out because that's like the unibrowiest of all of Mr. Unibrow's cards, I'd say. I love that one. And that's the only reason why I bought it, I think, was because of that. I don't think I might have been in a lot, but Willie McCovey's second-year card. It's got a little bit of a printing issue on it, a little bit, or not printing, some kind of paper loss or something, but overall the eye appeal on it's pretty nice. Nellie Fox. These are these MVP series that they did that year. Actually, I realized that one of the insert sets in this year's Topps Archives coming out later this year is going to be in the 61 MVP design. So that would be kind of cool. Yogi. There's Mr. Hodges again. There's the Duke of Flatbush again. Now in LA there. Another Aparicio. So some of these Hall of Famers, I have a few Aparicios, I got a few K-Lines, I got a few Dukes. Relatively affordable, and I think that's kind of why I ended up picking some of them up along the way in the last couple of years. Curt Flood, I really like this card. Great picture. He's such an important part of baseball's history. He almost looked pensive in that shot, and I think that's kind of like how he was as like a person. Just very thoughtful in everything he did. And one of his, I think he made, for the great career he had, and he was kind of like the pioneer for free agency, which is so important in terms of it's taken the game where it did, but it needed to go there. He's in some ways on the field. He's also known for, I believe, he made a key error in the '68 World Series Game 7, I think, against the Tigers, and I think it helped lead the Tigers to that win. But beyond that, he had a heck of a career. Cool card there. I like it a lot. There's K-Line again. It's another nice one. A few more here. I've got when I was buying 61s, I actually picked up a few slabs. So some of the only slabs I have actually from 61. Here's the 1960 home run leaders. I mean, look who's on this thing. Banks, Aaron, Matthews, Boyer. It's in a 5. Just a cool card. From the MVP line there, Roy Campanella, 5.5. And this is it's an 8, but it's an OC, so it's more like a 6. Warren Spahn, I like that one a lot too. All right, last batch of cards here, and we'll wrap this up. I'm already at 35, so if you're still watching this, thank you very much. But I hope you don't mind. I've enjoyed having you kind of go down this little vintage voyage with me. 1963 is the last year I'm going to show here. Starting with this one, just because this is just one of those, sometimes you buy it or see a card and it's just hilarious and you just like, you get a chuckle at it and you sort of, what happened to Jack Hamilton last night? Oh, either a long night or did he get into an altercation? What happened? It's like, oh, he's got to pose for Topps the next day. But anyway, we've got Yaz, not in great condition there, unfortunately. We've got Buck Blasters, pretty cool. Paid $20 for it. I got some of the price text on this one. A not great condition Casey Stengel, but still kind of cool with Gene Woodling. This is a Dave DeBusschere card that pretty sure it's the same Dave DeBusschere who ended up playing for the Knicks, which is a basketball star. So I kind of liked having that one. And I got Aparicio here again, and I got from my LCS locally here, Don Drysdale. Didn't take the price tag off, and I didn't take the price off Bob Gibson either. So, if you looked at a phone number up on that, you could see I live in the Kalamazoo area. There's Don Zimmer. This is a kind of a mess-up card for Topps. He's wearing pinstripes here, and he's on the Dodgers now, so this is either when he was with the Cubs, or was he on the 62 Mets? I can't remember, actually. I think it's just from the Cubs. But, yeah. I pulled this card out, just another example of the pose. I just love the photo of this, the composition of it. I like the direction he's looking in here, not to you, not at you, and his hat's kind of a little off-kilter during batting practice. It's almost like he's giving an interview or something, like talking with a reporter or something. It's just a really cool card. I like it a lot. Jimmy Pearsall again. Pretty nice condition on that one. Last one I'm showing you here is a 1963 Matty Alou. Again, the pose is just super cool, and it's in an 8, no less. So there you go. Showing a bunch of vintage cards there. Hope you enjoyed the ride with me, and hope you're having a great Memorial Day weekend here, and hopefully it continues into a great summer. So take care, and see you on the next one.